Hey everybody, welcome again to the Sass and the Beard. We're going to try this Civics 101 episode again. It's my fault that...
we did a really great episode last week.
It was awesome.
And then, we didn't.
I don't know how to use technology, so
we're old.
I'm an elder millennial. My group of people were the ones that created the technology and forgot how to use it. So
Totally.
But today we are going to discuss our favorite topic from high school. You remember your civics teacher, right?
Civics, yes.
Yeah, we talked about your coach.
My civics teacher was not good.
Yeah, that was the one like your dad. Yeah, that was great. My civics teacher, I went to such a small school, we didn't even have civics. It was like American government, and we talked, once you got through the Civil War, you just kind of,
So nothing current.
Right, yeah. So, but today we're going to give a refresher course because, we talk about this stuff a lot, and we see all of you talking about it on social media. We get questions when we're out and about at different things, asking us what's going on, and because of that, we always kind of get glossy eyes when we discuss things with people about the process. And some people feel bad that they don't know.
Right, yeah. I mean, you get people all the time who are like, I'm embarrassed. I know I should know this. And, the thing is, most people don't. They feel like everybody else knows this because there's people like us out here talking and being like, look at how much we know about this.
We're nerds.
Right. But normally, normal people, don't really know that much, and that's totally fine. It's reasonable. It's kind of where we're all at. It's been a long time since I had civics, and
even we need refreshers. Okay, there are things that we don't always know about the process, even though we're involved in it. We're like, wait, can they do that?
You hang out at the state legislature, and the legislators don't get the process sometimes. That's why so many of them
city council
become
members.
Lobbyists later, because they understand the inside to the process. Anyways. So, Civics 101, kind of what I wanted to start with was sort of the building blocks of government, and then work out from there to some things that piss me off about government, so that it'll be more fun. It's always my favorite.
Yes. So stick around, because then it gets fun. We'll go through the boring stuff first, and then we'll get to the fun stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So building blocks of government. We have three branches of government, right?
Yes.
We have the judicial branch,
yes.
the legislative branch, and the executive branch.
Yes.
And that a lot of times we think of that as being just the federal government, the Supreme Court, the president, and Congress. But that same structure really carries down into our every level of our government. And so at the state we have
you have here we have the governor, who's the executive. We have the state legislature, the representatives and the senators, and then we have the state Supreme Court, the judicial system. And when you continue that on out through the county and the city, it's very similar. They don't really maybe have their own judicial, there's district court is the judicial system for county and city, but the executive and legislative branch are very prominent in the county and the city. The county judge is the executive, and then you have the quorum court.
Right, which is often really confusing to people because you hear county judge and you think it's judicial, but it's not.
They have zero judicial experience.
In Arkansas, they are the executive for the county. So areas of the county that are not part of the city, that are unincorporated, like county roads, county services such as 911, fire. All of those things. The quorum court oversees, and they act a lot like the city council in the legislative form, and then the judge is the executive.
Yeah, I usually explain, when somebody's like, well, what does the county judge do? I explain that he's the mayor of the county.
Basically,
kind of makes it
and
easier.
the JPs are the city council.
The city council members of the county.
And that's really the easiest way to understand it. And so, and with all of that, there's kind of varying complicated, as you get you get the state legislature, and the procedures and the operations of it are more complex than they are at the local level.
Yes.
You get up into the federal level, it's really more complex.
Well, and then in our city government, the state government really sets the rules for the municipalities they're within, and so there are things that cities have to basically check with the state to make sure that there is a precedent set for this already, if there's an ordinance or anything, so the the state really kind of controls. I don't really like to use that word, but they set the rules for what cities can do, really.
Yeah.
And counties as well. So like you basically, the state constitution is what guides everything, and then you are working with that as a city or county government.
Right, which we've seen a lot of that discussion around the casino issue on the local ordinance and how that plays into state level constitutional amendments. So I mean, that part, I mean, once you kind of have a grasp on that, it really works the same all the way up and down at a basic level. And then when you get into like working in those, my experience is much more at the state legislature level, and yours is much more at the local. Municipal level.
So it's a municipal league. The Arkansas Municipal League is like,
and the Arkansas Association of Counties.
Right. Let's say you run for office as at the local level, like you want to run for school board, you want to run for county office, or you want to run for city office. Maybe your job was you were a plumber, but you decide like this, I want to do this, I want to get involved. You don't know jack squat about being a city council member or mayor or anything like that. But that doesn't disqualify you from running for that office, because most of the people that ran for or have been in that office didn't know jack squat about it either.
And we're supposed to have a citizen government that is made up of normal people who live in the community.
So the state sets up this group called the Municipal League, and there are lawyers that work for the Municipal League that are at your disposal to use. So like if you have a question, I want to have an ordinance that does this thing, you can call the Municipal League and you can say, what is this? They also set up different events throughout the year so that you can go and see what services are available to cities, different companies that offer services for certain things.
Right. And I mean, they even put out like a handbook for city council members and mayors that run down, how a council meeting should work, how
rules of order.
Totally. Yeah. So there's great resources. And that's important to know, because especially at the local level, people often feel they're not qualified.
Yes.
And believe me, go hang out at some meetings. You'll feel more qualified.
I was like, for me, like I was the guy that walked around town with a beanie, that worked every day, that like had long hair and beard. I was in a band, and I was like,
I walked the doors if he came out my door.
I don't know what I'm doing. And then I got there, and it's like half the time nobody knew what they were doing either. And it's not like there's nothing against that. Like they were either newer at the process, or this is the way things had always been done. And so a new rule would come down. Like you're not prepared for it, because it's not like what you do every day. And so like I get it. Like you are just as capable as the people there today and yesterday and tomorrow. Like you're just as capable as they are. And so if you've ever felt like that, like we encourage you, like go get involved in the process.
Yeah. So and then for the county level, for JPs and for the court, or for the judge, there is the Arkansas Association of Counties, which provides very similar resources for them. So there's lots of resources out there to support. You don't just get like tossed in the deep end and like figure it out.
You're like, oh wait, so this is how we do things.
Yeah. And but I want to talk a little bit about our experience, because this week I went to the agenda prep meeting for the first time. I'd never attended one. I'd kind of asked you when everybody's having the conversations, because I wasn't really seeing it at the city council meetings.
Yeah.
And those meetings, the agenda prep isn't live streamed, and I prefer to be antisocial and watch the city council meetings in my pajamas at home.
And if you don't go,
they won't let me drink wine at the council meeting, but my house will. So,
like, if all you do is go to the city council meetings or the quorum court meetings too, like, really if you just go to the main functional meeting, all you see is the official. This is how it's done. This is what we're doing, and there's not a lot of like communication between the people. That sometimes they'll break off and have discussion about things, especially if they're going to table it and not actually vote on it that night. But all of the kind of nuts and bolts of what you're doing are really talked about in the agenda prep meeting, which is the Tuesday week prior to the city council meeting.
Right. And so my experience has really been more at the state legislative level, where They have committee meetings, and there's several different committees that handle different types of legislation, you know, like public health and things like that. But they
education,
right, which I pretty much always have ended up in the public health meetings.
Right.
That's just kind of where my area has been, because it's like child welfare and things like that. And so being in those meetings, you know, the legislators, the legislator whoever like has the bill that they want to propose comes in and they explain it to the committee, and then the committee can ask questions. There may be citizens who want to speak about it for or against. There may be lobbyists or representatives from other government agencies. So there's lots of like back and forth about the whole thing. I mean, they may spend a couple of hours talking about one issue,
hashing out the details.
Right. And so, and then when it goes to the whole floor to vote, to the full legislature, to the House or to the Senate, they'll hash it on the floor there too. And so there's a lot of conversation. And it's very easy. To me, it seems very easy because it's not easy if you're just kind of jumping into it. I don't want to like minimize that, but all of that stuff is recorded. You can, you know, watch it later at night if you didn't get a chance to be there or whatever.
Because like everybody would do that because they're all nerds like we are.
Totally, yeah. I don't watch I don't Netflix and chill like I watch.
I lobby and chill.
Yeah.
I don't like
that sounds. No. I don't think I know what that means exactly I don't because I'm older.
Yeah.
I think it means just like you hang out and watch movies, but I don't know if that's what that means.
No, that's not what that means.
Oh, shit.
So yeah,
I've said it to people that I shouldn't have said it to. Anyway, so elder millennial. Sally. Anyways.
Yeah. So it's a process that you're used to from the state legislative aspect.
And so I expected the agenda prep meeting to be very similar to that.
Gotcha.
And I was so lost. Like, and it was really kind of like a little surprising to me because, I mean, I feel like I follow things pretty closely here locally. I mean, I'm not at everything and know everything that's going on, but I try to be pretty informed about local stuff too. And I mean, I had no idea what they were talking about half the time.
Right.
So, is this your fault?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. It's like everything else. So, you also have to think about this. We were talking about this earlier, and I just kind of came to me. Like, when you think about the business of the state, it's very looking from high on the mountain. So, like, we set this rule, and then everyone else has to apply it.
That's very true.
When you're looking at the city or local government, like, it's a lot of like day to day. It's like cleaning your house. Like you got to do these 6 or 7 things every day, and then once a month you do the big thing. You know, but so like it's hard to follow. But for the people who are in it every day or every week or every month or whatever, like, you know, the drainage issues, the zoning issues, the like, I know we definitely want to talk about the 3 rules and all of that stuff, like the 3 readings or whatever. But so it is very hyper focused in the day-to-day workings because the executive handles a lot of that, you know, and he doesn't necessarily need permission to do some things. Like if there's a pipe that bursts, he just fixes it, you know. Then the legislative appropriates as much money as they can in the budget to take care of that, and only till they get more. That's why you may see towards the end of the year several like parts of the city coming to the city council saying like, hey, we budgeted this much but we went over in these areas, and then we have this emergency thing that we have to do and the money's not there, can you give us more for that? You know, so the day-to-day workings, like they only come in when there's an emergency to the city council. So that's why it may seem sporadic, because like we don't do this all the time, or we do this all the time, but it's a different thing because last month we were doing it for the police, or last month we were doing it for this zoning issue. So to me, it's a lot more sporadic because it isn't really a defined process. And that's frustrating, like, especially to me, because I'm kind of a process person. Like, I want to come in, I want to know what I'm expected to do and expected to know for sure. And I would say, this is where I want to take, like, a lot of that would be, would be less confusing with transparency and information.
Yes. Like, and that's kind of what got us rolling on this, was that the thing that I noticed. Okay, if you look at the state legislature a few years ago, it was much less transparent.
Gotcha.
We had a big scandal in Arkansas with bribery and corruption and problems.
Yeah,
and
they're
people with the
still
prison,
rolling, like
people they're still. I mean, right, and so they made a lot of effort at that point to be more transparent.
Yeah.
And that is kind of what I see the difference is. And I don't mean this to say like as a bad thing, because I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but you have to be intentional about transparency.
Yes.
Like
you
it doesn't
can't just expect
happen.
people to come in and all of a sudden be like, if people are really excited about city government or any really kind of government, it's because they think they're doing a crap job.
Yeah.
And they're mad.
Right.
So like, you want people to be able to at any moment to come in and watch or look and say, oh, things are going fine, and then I go about my business every day. You know, like that's the way I think it should be. Like, here is everything you need to know about what we're doing at all times, and we want you to know because we care and you're paying the taxes.
Right.
But a lot of times it doesn't work that way. And when I was in city council, like the most frustrating moments I had were the unequitable moments that you can't prepare for because they just sneak up on you, like zoning or the 3 readings of this. We're going to suspend these rules and we're going to read it 3 times at this one moment and just take care of everything right now, and then we're going to allow this emergency clause and we're going to let them just go and do what they want to do, because we always go and let them do what they want to do.
I totally can see sometimes. Like they were talking about one last night where there was a request for an emergency clause because tech is needing to do some development, and I didn't catch all of it because there's not a lot of discussion happening, but it's really hard to hear in there.
Yes.
And there was cross
and
conversation.
Everybody mumbles and speak low,
right.
monotone.
So there's a lot of things, so tech has this thing, and it did seem like a legit emergency. Like Williamson burned down, they need to relocate some staff and some things that they have to take care of.
It was probably the fact that they had this new facility that they got from the city, and there was probably some fine. I don't know, I didn't see, but it was probably something to do with that.
Right, and I mean, like that, tech's a great partner. It's this little patch of grass where there's not. I mean, it's between a couple of businesses. Like, I can totally understand why you would look at that and go, there's no reason to make them wait 3 or 4 months.
Yes.
But like what happened last month that I got really frustrated about is we had there was a request that came, and it was to abandon a road, vacate a portion of a road so that they could use that area to put a duplex in, and they asked for them to waive the 3 readings and do the emergency clause. Right. And they asked what the emergency was, and the engineer explained that it was because they'd have to wait an extra 30 days for funding if it didn't go through.
Because if you have to go acquire funding, this is a lot, like, people don't know. Like, if you're acquiring funding, you go to the bank and you bring all your paperwork. You have a certain amount of time. Like, the bank says, we'll give you X amount of dollars. But if you don't do all that you have to do to get everything you need to get within a certain amount of time, you have to go back and do all new financial paperwork and all new stuff, and they have to go through the process all over again. Right. And it's a huge hassle for business owners and for people who want to buy a home. Like, there's like that's the way the banks operate. So I understand that there's
I mean, I really do see both sides of it, because I understand from the person who's wanting that change. You don't have to wait 6 months, and probably nobody's going to pay attention to it. Like, often nobody pays attention, but this time somebody was upset. Because so what they did was they did the 1 reading, and then they bumped up the public hearing. It was going to be like 3 weeks out. They bumped it up to 2 days later.
Which is hardly enough time to notify.
Right, and then they passed it that 2 days later. And so a process that normally takes 3 to 5 months took 2 business days.
Took less than a week.
And so a citizen was really upset because they didn't feel like they'd been notified. And the thing that I got out of that was that I don't think anybody was trying to do anything bad there. Like, I don't think the city was doing anything nefarious. I mean, really, like.
And probably the citizen who was frustrated just wanted to air out his frustration to her or whoever, and let everybody know, like, this is a concern of mine. Can you help me understand why you would do this? Like, that is usually why somebody is frustrated at a meeting like that they just come unannounced and they sign up to speak.
Yeah.
One guy, like, or whatever.
Yeah, and so, but what that made me think about a lot is the transparency issue.
Yeah.
Is that, like, so yeah, the legal standard may be that it has to be published in the paper or whatever, and there may have to be, like, if you have a property that abuts it, you have to have notice or whatever.
Right.
But we have to recognize, yes, there's a minimum. But going above that is a service to citizens here. They deserve that from their city. They deserve some communication. There's nothing wrong with reasonably pushing something through because it needs to be. But man, go out and make sure those people know about it if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing to me. But that takes effort. Like, that doesn't just happen, Yeah. And I don't think it's because anybody was being secretive.
Right. No.
Or trying to keep information. I don't think that at all.
No, like, there's not some conspiracy.
No, not at all.
There's, nefarious things going on.
I mean, like, these are people just trying to make the right decision.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? And a business person wants to develop, like, you know what I mean?
Yes, that's what we want.
Right.
That
like,
brings
that's a
more
good thing.
Property tax money into our coffers, and we have more money to pay police and fire and water parks and whatever.
Yeah. And I was also really impressed at the meeting with a lot of great stuff that's in the works.
Yeah.
Some development stuff that's in the works. There's a roundabout thing that I know like people hate, but I love roundabouts. I love them.
Yes, there's a great. So I want to talk about
no,
the
we're
roundabout.
But, okay.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of great stuff that's happening, and that's included in that transparency because I think if people saw that, I don't think our public officials would be sitting at a 30% approval rating right now. If they had a better insight into what's actually going on. Yeah. Because I was really impressed, which doesn't come from me easily.
So,
well,
and the thing is, like, I was watching an interview with the mayor recently, and he was talking about that, like, it was like if people knew some of the stuff going on, like, they would be happier,
Totally.
And the thing is, like, nobody's saying what's going on. Like, who's responsible for telling us what's going on? And I realize that some of the stuff that's going on is, like, proprietary information. Mm-hmm. And, like, we see with the casino, like, all of these operators are like, look at what we're going to do, you know?
Right.
And some businesses, they don't do that because, like, they either A, don't want their competitors to know, or they may not have everything figured out, like, and they don't want to, like, jump the gun before it happens. But, like, we need to know. Like, the people need to know what's going on. And it's, like, say it. Somebody say, somebody say that because the nuclear plant's really good about telling us when they sign a new lease, because that's a huge part. Tech's really good about telling us what's going on. Walmart lets us know when they raise, the employees' wages, and like they're like you can let people know something. Like we need to do that. Like we need to know that. Mm-hmm. And I wish that throughout all of this discussion, like we've had these discussions, we've had it with city people, we've had it with the county people, like. Put it on Facebook. Like, how hard
Run a press release. Like, it's just, I mean, and like, not just, and listen, not just a press release that like goes, here's 300 things we did in a totally uninteresting format that nobody's ever going to read.
No.
Like, break that stuff down. Give people insight into what's happening.
This video.
Yes,
like, come on, Sass in the Beard. Like, there are 30 people that watch our stuff every week.
Right.
And like those.
But you know what? Those 30 people are more than they're reaching right now.
Right, and they know a lot of stuff about what's going on in our community.
Right. But I'll tell you what, it is more than 30 people because like I was at the quorum court and a lady came to me and was like, thank you guys so much for doing that because it is good to have this kind of look into what's going on, and we ramble all over the place and get off topic and need somebody to probably keep us on track. But
like if we had a real producer right now, they would just be looking at their watch.
Right, they'd be like, come on guys. Yeah. Like I've seen Nathan a couple times go like in his head, I can see it, and that's okay though. But so anyways, like my thing is that I know I can be very critical of the city.
Gotcha.
That's sort of my style. I didn't get to do that for a few years, and now I'm kind of letting it all hang out, and I'm enjoying it. But I do honestly think that we have they're good people. Like I'm not trying to like malign anybody or say that anybody's out there doing like terrible bad stuff. I don't think that. I think that we have a real problem with the way we treat citizens who question the city.
Yes.
And I understand that can be a really difficult thing to navigate, but I think it's a problem. I think that we have a problem with communication. Obviously, we've talked about that 100 times. I think we talk about it every time.
Yes.
those are things that don't just happen. Like that, I mean, that's the thing to me is it's like I think the city is aware that these are issues. Okay, but then what are we going to do?
Yes,
and that's what I don't see.
I think that a lot of times when authority communicates, it is absolute. It is not always aware of how disrespectful it's being, and it just doesn't allow for a differing opinion. And I think that it shouldn't be that way, especially like elected authority. It should be clear. It should be kind. It should be understanding. Like, yes, we know that some people have this view, but this is the way we're going because we believe it's the best way. Like, you don't have to argue with people. You don't have to be rude. You can say things like, I hear you, but like you can act opposite of what people want because you have the knowledge of what's best for the community and still not be a douchebag. Like, I mean, and I'm not saying anybody is specifically.
I am specifically saying that there are some serious douchebags. Serious.
But like we, as citizens, deserve to be respected by our government at all levels, and because we pay the freaking taxes. Like I pay 30% of my income, so that you have to be nice to me.
Right. Like right. And I think that's, like I get that our elected officials have people come at them over stuff, and they come at them sometimes over stuff that they
we should be nice to them as well.
Right. Like, and I get, like I remember there was a lady that was real upset last year before, and it was something that was totally not under like our mayor's jurisdiction.
Yes.
He literally could not do anything about it. But she wanted to talk to somebody who she knew.
Yeah.
And she wanted to talk to some random person off in Little Rock.
Right.
She wanted to talk to the person she sees in her community and she knows.
Yes.
And remembering the fact that not everybody
understands
jurisdiction
Civics 101.
Or that that this is their life. Like, like this guy that was upset at the meeting, I get he may have acted like a jerk. I don't know. But get that that's not personal.
Right.
It's not a personal attack on the official.
They're looking at government.
They're looking at their home.
Authority,
well, and they're looking at their.
This is mine.
My home, my place that I live. Like it's very personal to them.
Yeah.
But it's not really about you, as an official. So that's something I always kind of struggle with because I just don't really take it that personally. Right. I'm like, you can hate on me, we're cool, I don't care. but I mean, because I have good friends in politics that I've run attack ads on. Like it's not personal. We're friends. That's our jobs. Like we're doing our jobs.
I kind of take it a little personal.
Whiny bitch.
Just a little bit, like because I do my best to be the best that I can, and I'm not perfect. And so, like, if I do my best to be the best that I can, and it's still not enough, like, I get a little frustrated. Now, not enough to show, not enough to, like, argue or fight or yell at somebody, especially, like, if I'm in this position, but, like, I get a little heated.
Oh no! I mean, and I can totally see. I mean, like it's not like you should take any just abuse or whatever. Like not like that. But and I mean, I do like yes. I mean, I've had disagreements with people on a political level who are my friends on a personal level.
Yeah.
And I may not text them back for a couple days. Like I may just be a little salty, but it's not like we can't be friends.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I get that it's not personal.
Well, and that's I want to talk about this in a broader aspect too. But like to kind of finish up this whole ordeal, like
I don't know that we did Civics 101 other than the first minute and a half.
We did because this is involved with that. We talked about our experience through the process. We talked about the actual setup. It's 101. It's not like we're not opening up the curtain and taking you to every committee meeting we've ever been to. Let's not do that. But to me, like our society as a whole is in this place right now where everything is an issue. Everything from the national level all the way down to like basic everyday city things. I saw a guy on social media the other day like railing about like drainage, which is an everyday city process. Like you can't hate like the mayor who's the mayor now had nothing to do with the city's drainage problem. So like you can be frustrated with the city of Russellville over the last 100 years and the drainage issue. But like it's not Richard Harris's individual fault. So when you approach him about this, like, don't lay it all on him and be like, this is not the national issues that we're all like brought up about, and like we've got to be not friends, but we got to see each other at the grocery store, and we've got to like if some of us acted the way we do on social media, out in public, like they put us in jail. You know?
Oh, yeah, totally agree with you. And I mean, I've seen some emails when I've done FOIA requests that are like, damn, y'all be nice, chill out. There's no need to talk to anybody that way.
Right.
I mean, if you wouldn't say it to your grandma, you might want to chill out.
Right. You shouldn't say it to an acquaintance.
A random person at Kroger. But I will say though that it's August. We're 8 months in.
Yeah.
At a certain point, there is responsibility.
Oh, I agree.
And this is the question I asked one of the council members today, because what I noticed at that meeting was that people seem very unprepared to do business.
Yes.
And there's probably a lot of reasons for that don't all stem down to one person. But I'm like, okay, but whose job is it to be driving things forward? Mm-hmm. And I haven't gotten an answer to that yet, really. Like on who, like. And if that person's not doing it, then whose job is, like, where does the buck stop? Like, who's not picking up the ball and carrying it forward? Because, like, one of the things they talked about at that meeting was some of the drainage issues they've been talking about for a year now. And they're still, like, in we don't know, we need to study it, we need to think about it, and maybe figure out who we could hire to think about it some more, and then we'll get to making some plans, but we can't even give you a timeline yet. Like, that's frustrating, and to me that says somebody's not moving things forward, and I don't know where that's happening.
So some of those issues have been before I was a city council member.
Oh dude, yeah, some of this stuff goes way.
And so also, now I'm not being apologetic for, we just had a regime change
8 months ago.
8 months ago, with a federal level disaster in our community, and huge and structural people in place are not there that were there.
There are now. Yeah.
Yes, like the city planner, financial, like there are multiple people that are not there that we just recently have new people to fill those positions, and the engineer, so those people are going to take a little time to get. And normally I would be like, look, after 8 months, we should have a plan.
And I do see, I saw when Mayor Harris was talking at the meeting, he does seem very he's trying to think about the long-term plan and not just throw a Band-Aid on to look like
I heard him
he's doing
say that
something.
in an interview. I'm not thinking about tomorrow, I'm thinking about 50 years from now.
Which I do appreciate planning, but there has to be a balance between planning and action.
Exactly.
And I get concerned when I see that. To me, I worry that we're going to plan ourselves out so far that just nothing happens.
Right.
You know
because,
and then there's another election.
You only get, at the most, a couple of terms.
Yeah. And
if you're not planning, to fill up that couple of terms with stuff, who's to say that the mayor 4, 8, or 12 years from now isn't just going to be like, well, that's dumb. We're not going to do that. Yeah. Whether or not it was a good idea, So we've got to solve some things. We've got to look at some things. But as citizens and as elected officials, we all have to be able to have a conversation without, the rhetoric that I've seen. And if we can't, that's our children that we're showing this to. Nothing that the city is doing or working, nothing in city politics is important enough to cause hatred amongst each other. There's nothing. Nothing is as important.
I agree with that, but I do think that we have to be careful, because it seems like it's either or. We're either at each other's throats, or we're let's all just pretend nothing's happening.
No,
and so finding that middle road of action where we are holding people accountable in a way that does ask hard questions, does say what's going on here.
Yes.
because I mean, you know, like I'm never gonna be like, oh, it's so great when you guys do that, but you know, yeah, finding that middle ground, but we can't hate each other over it, man. That just doesn't work.
Yeah, and I don't like when I say nothing, I mean like nothing currently that we're dealing with.
Right, drainage,
like,
casinos, none of that is worth like.
Yeah, if he comes out tomorrow and says we got to murder all 5-year-olds, like you can't do that. But he's not going to. No. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's nothing at that level that is worth causing your own personal angst to feel that way. I mean, we see it. There are people across the country who have that level of angst about what's going on in the world, and they're acting upon that. And like it's time that like every moment I get, I want to like sit and I want to like, yes, we disagree, but I respect you, you know, like I don't want to be.
I do kind of want to tell people they're stupid. I just want to be like, you're an idiot.
That's because you're a ginger, and that's a topic for another time. So we hope you've had a lot of fun hanging out with us. Share our videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We want to know, we put out a Google form. Kristen made this really awesome form that you can fill out. It's like one question.
Super easy, it's 2 questions. We did have a few people comment some things they want us to talk about. One was great about elected versus appointed.
Yeah.
I need to get more information. We both do to make sure we cover that accurately. There were some very specific questions. So we're not just like ignoring those, but we want to make sure we're accurate on what we give out.
Yeah, because we don't want to just like give an opinion and it be completely off base.
Right.
Yeah, we're not always going to be right, but we're going to try to be right most of the time.
Right, we do our best. Like we do our due diligence and try to be right.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much.
If we're wrong, we're not going to admit it. And I'm going to tell you that you're stupid. No, I'm sorry.
Somebody will correct us, I'm sure.
Somebody will tell me.
They'll want to take us out to lunch or something. All right. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. Have a great weekend.